In order to do this exercise properly, we need to identify what it feels like to have a posterior pelvic tilt and an anterior pelvic tilt without getting too much from the lumbar spine. Okay, so too much from the thoracic spine and from the lumbar spine. It's very much the pelvis. So thinking about your sit bones tucking under, sit bones untucking. So in a tabletop position, we've got that neutral spine and we can posteriorly tuck the pelvis to tuck the tail under, okay? And then anteriorly tilt the pelvis to reach the sit bones up and back. So very subtle movement, okay? Now, what we don't want is so much that we get into the lumbar spine. So lumbar is this low back. That's where the flexion and extension is happening. We want it to be the pelvis, and it might only be a slight amount. So there's tucked, there's untucked, tucked, and untucked. And I know it's a really awkward way of looking at it, but it's really important for this 90-90 bridge. Okay, I'm gonna give you 3 ways to do this. So number 1, we get into our 90-90. This is all 3 versions of the exact same in terms of setup here. Okay, so I get 90-90. So it's 90 degrees at all joint angles. So at the ankle, so we don't want my feet too pointed. Okay, we want the heels in line with the knees, 90 degrees, and 90 degrees at the hip. Okay, I'm just gonna put my hands behind my head because I've got a ponytail today, but your arms could be on your side. It's kind of personal preference. So if I was in this position and I flattened my back down till I lifted my sit bones, that's that posterior pelvic tilt, that tail tuck. And then I can also untuck and create a little bit of a, it looks like a lumbar arch, but we're not going so much that I flare my ribs. Okay, so we've got tucked and untucked. We can start to feel it here. Okay, now what we're going to do is start kind of neutral. So there's a small lumbar arch, low back arch. So we're not completely flat, we're not completely lifted, we're about halfway. So I think of this as like my back pockets are on the floor. Okay, what I'm going to do is my feet, imagine that they're stuck to the wall. And if I wanted to drag my feet down the wall, but my feet were stuck, what will happen is my knees will lift. Now at the level of the pelvis, what might happen for some people is when they drag down the wall to lift the knees, they might flatten the back and peel their back up. So see how I'm still on contact with the ground here, but I've lifted my hips. Okay, so they might do something like this. They might round up and round down and never really leave the ground in that lumbar area. So keeping yourself in neutral, feet pull to lift the knees, and we're using our core to make sure we don't round as we lift the knees till we're hovering. Now, some people, again, will tuck under. We want to untuck as much as possible and relax the glutes. The hamstring muscles are shortening, so they're pulling from the sit bones. Okay, and we're untucking so we can really feel that lengthening contraction. So we're untucking, this muscle is lengthening, so we're going to feel this muscle where it attaches to the butt. Okay, if we hang out here long enough, you're going to feel the entire backs of the legs. We also don't want to be too far away or too close. You might start to feel it in the quad or the calf, so adjust a little bit. So this is the 90-90 lift, hip lift. And what we're going to do, feeling the insides of the feet with relaxed toes, I'm going to continue to drag to lift my knees up, staying as untucked as possible. My hips are following. At the top, without trying to clench and shove my pelvis forward, I'm going to tuck the pelvis. Okay, then I'm going to untuck the pelvis and lower myself down nice and slow, just to the point where I just tap the floor with my back pockets. So if we were to go all the way down, my low back wouldn't touch. Okay, staying untucked, I'm going to drag up the wall to lift the knees. At the top, I'm going to relax the butt and tuck the pelvis. Untuck, lower down nice and slow. So I want you to take a breath in at the bottom. Breath out as I lift. As I tuck at the top, I'm going to breathe in. As I untuck and then lower, I'm going to breathe out. So inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale.